Yay, yay, it's your girl, it's your girl, it's your girl, it's your girl, Carnessa the Poetess, back to bless you with another video, yes. What's up, my pineapples? I miss you so much. Your girl is big and better than ever. As you can see by the title, this is a special video dedicated to the legacy and life of one of the greats and underrated, unrecognized citizens of Michigan City, Indiana. I wanted to pay homage to her because I'm just now getting to know she's from my city, and all her suffrage work in the movement of women's rights and Black women's rights, and the pleasure, and I have the honor and the pleasure of doing some documentaries about her, participating in some programs. I was even able to portray her, and I'll be sharing bits and pieces of that along the journey. I was also able to perform one of her speeches because she was a poetess, like your girl, okay? And it's just like, we have so many similarities in our life, just at different times, you know? So I'm honored to be representing her, and I want to represent her well, show her respect and regard. And I just will say that I'm able to be bold and brave and speak with confidence in my truth because of a Naomi Anderson, because she spoke her truth when it wasn't popular, you know, when there was racism and everybody was against her. But she spoke boldly, she spoke her truth, she fought for her people, and she's a legend, you know, and I want to honor her. So let's get right into the video.
And she was born free in 1843, before the Civil War and before the Emancipation Proclamation. She went on to become a well-known poet and suffragist, but while she was in Chicago, she spoke at the first women's rights conference in the West in 1869. That was amazing to me because I had no idea that there was a first women's rights conference in the West in 1869. And her speech was recorded and was put in the Susan B. Anthony's paper called The Revolution. But they didn't accredit who gave the speech. We found out later that that's who it was. But she wrote poems. She had grown up in Michigan City, and you know there were two Black families there at the time, and they weren't going to let her go to school because it wasn't integrated. And so her mother decided to get a tutor for her. So she was tutored until she was 12 years old, and when finally they realized she was brilliant, that she was a poet and an amazing writer, and they let her go to the Michigan City schools with all the white folks. And later on in her life, she traveled all around the country stomping for women's rights. But what you're going to see in the film, this little clip, is portions of the speech that she gave in Chicago at that convention.
Soon the whole world will be awakened to a sense of the value and importance of our cause. Woman has the power within herself.
Naomi Anderson had a very powerful voice.
Hear the call of woman, and her rights will be granted, and she shall be permitted to vote.
Naomi's main project was trying to get women's rights first vote. There are no other sculptures of Black women in our city.
I heard about the competition to create this monument for Naomi Anderson, and it felt like my kind of project. You know, most of my work involved itself with history, American history in particular. You know, in this case, the life of a really important American. Well, the concept that I pursued was basically trying to illustrate her life, aspects of her life, in a kind of symbolic way. There's an open field in Westcott Park. It's a nice grassy area, and it seemed like a great place for me to work with my program, which is basically attaching symbols to poles. You know, it's very simple in some ways, almost like signage. So I felt like I could make an interesting design in a big space like that. You know, the central image is the portrait of Naomi Anderson. And we go through a process of projecting the symbols onto the metal. You know, it's a 7 or 8 foot portrait of her, again, treated rather graphically and symbolically. So she is represented in the work very dramatically, I would say. It's the only image that has multiple colors. You know, it's a black and white image. The rest of the sculpture is all white. White was kind of a color for the suffragists. So she really stands out within the group of symbols that are there. Naomi was a prolific writer and poet. The hand gesture is important in the piece. One of the hands is kind of writing the words, "We are one people," which was a statement that she made. So in that way, you know, the symbols operate metaphorically, but also very literally in talking about who she was. Naomi Anderson had a very powerful voice at a moment where, you know, those voices were challenged and opposed and eliminated in one way or another. So she represents, you know, a person of courage and a person of inspiration, I think, for Michigan City, for people of color, and for all people.
Who played Naomi Anderson in the film is sitting in the
Woman has a power within herself, and the God that reigns above, who commanded Moses to lead the children of Israel from out of the hand of Egypt, and from out of the house of bondage, who walked the waters of the Red Sea, who endowed Samson with the power to slay his enemies with the jawbone of an ass, who furnished Abraham Lincoln with the knowledge to write the Emancipation Proclamation, whereby 4 million of blacks were set free, that God, our God, is with and for us, and we'll hear the call of woman, and her rights will be granted, and she shall be permitted to vote.
All right! Woo! Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell.
It's your
Like,
girl,
comment,
it's your
subscribe, hit the
girl.
bell. Like, comment,
Carnessa the
subscribe, hit the
Poetess.
bell.